Hi, hello, it's Nikki, and welcome back to my messy bookshelf. And if you've been here before, you probably know that I have been gone for about 3 months, maybe a little bit longer. So today I thought I would share where I've been, what's been going on, and what I've been reading since I've been gone. So if you don't care about the life stuff that's been happening, you can skip forward to see what I've been reading. But if you've been here before, again, you may remember me talking about my upcoming retirement and all of the construction that was happening in my house. So for the month of September, I was still going through construction in my house and lots of medical appointments with my upcoming retirement, or I guess it's not upcoming anymore, but then it was upcoming. And we had lots of construction going on in the house. I had people in the house working on the walls and all that fun stuff for the kitchen. And then at the end of the month, I was preparing for my retirement ceremony. So 20 years in the Navy, and I was having a retirement ceremony. So getting ready for that, planning for that, trying to pray and hope that my construction would be done before then. So that all happened in September, and at the end of September, I did have my ceremony. I had 21 people in my family come in from out of town. My house was very full for a couple of weeks. We had my ceremony, we had my reception, my party, and then I took all of my vacation days that I had never taken while I was serving in the Navy, and here we are. So during October, I still had family visiting. We had some friends come in from out of town. I was trying to unpack all of the things in my garage that got put in there before the construction happened. And then I had lots of medical appointments to do for my official retirement from the Navy. Then school stuff. So yeah, nothing really bad happened. It was just a very busy season. I was taking advantage of seeing family members I hadn't seen in years. We had out of town guests, and then we were able to go out of town. I was actually able to spend Thanksgiving with family, which I have not done in over a decade. So just been enjoying all of those things. Plus, it's been a very busy season with the construction and the crazy amount of medical appointments and out briefings that I needed to exit the service. And then here we are. It was a very busy 3 months. We finally are alone in the house and I am back. I did not read anything in September because September was a blur, but I have been reading all through October and November and now into December. And as of this week, I am officially free from the Navy. So a little over 20 years that I spent, and I am now retired. So also lots of things, planning what I was going to do next and registering for school and my resume and all of that stuff. So just a very, very busy season. Nothing terrible happened or anything like that, besides some car trouble. So yeah, that's all it was. Just a very busy season in my life and taking advantage of getting to spend time with family that I haven't been able to do in a very, very long time. So yeah, that's where I've been, and I am very, very excited to be back. Now that things have settled down, we are alone in the house, and don't expect many people coming into town for Christmas this year, but that's okay. We're settling in here to our new normal. So moving on to what I have been reading, and I am so looking forward to talking to all of you again and just having those conversations with you all. So moving on to what I've been reading, the first thing that I read, and I don't remember exactly what order I read these in except the last ones. I did read A Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, and a classic that I've always wanted to read, an adventure story. It was a lot different than I expected it to be, but it was very enjoyable. you know, we have our main character who goes with his uncle on a journey following clues to the center of the earth. They have found a clue that tells them that there is something at the center of the earth, and they have many adventures on their way there and out of the center of the earth. So that was a fun one. I'm glad I finally got to that one. And then you might sense a theme in the way that I've been reading. I've been reading a lot of dark stuff with spooky season upon us and all of that stuff. I have been reading a lot of dystopian / thriller / spooky reads. So next I read Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, and I have been reading a lot by her lately. Yes. This one is about a woman who is having memories of her missing daughter, and then she meets a man that is likely a romantic interest for her, and his little daughter looks exactly like her missing daughter that went missing many years ago. So very twisty and turny, and I loved it. The thing with her books, they are not formulaic. I have read, I think, 3 of her books in the last couple of months, and they are all different. So, and I never guess the true story behind what is going on. This one, I kind of had an idea of what was going on, and I was mostly right, but yeah, the reveal at the end is pretty crazy and intense. Next thing I read, guilty pleasure of mine, Dan Brown. I've read all his books, I think. The Secret of Secrets, when it came out, I was excited to read it because there hadn't been a new one of his books for several years. This one, I mean, it's typical Dan Brown. We are in, was it Stockholm? Prague. They were in Prague. So he is dating a woman and they are attending a conference in Prague. And I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I'm sorry. And his friend goes missing, and Robert Langdon suspects that his friend, because of the work that she's doing, is the reason that she went missing. And it has a lot to do with consciousness. So she's doing work in the brain field. I don't know how to describe it any better than that. So it was fun. It was another Robert Langdon book and always enjoyable. Moving on to some very interesting books that I picked up on a whim going into the bookstore, and this one is Strange Houses by Uketsu, and I am so fascinated by this. This person has a new book coming out, I think in March. No one has ever seen this person's real face. Anytime that they come and make a media appearance or something, it's always with a mask. No one knows the full name of this person, but writes some really creepy stuff. And this one is the second book that they wrote, and it's all to do with these weird pictures. And this one is about houses, and it follows a journalist in this book who is trying to figure out the mystery behind some disappearances and starts noticing some things about these houses. And you just keep flipping back to the other pictures, and it's just so wild. And it was fantastic and super creepy, and it made me want to read the first book, which I did eventually. But the next one that I actually read, was The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. And this one, another fascinating one. Dystopian novel about a small island in, you assume, Japan, just based on the way that they're talking about. I don't think they actually ever mention where they are. But there are things that are going missing every now and again, and it disappears from people's memories. And there is an organization called the Memory Police that is there to ensure that everyone is getting rid of these memories. And there are a select few people who do not lose these memories, and the Memory Police are out there searching to make sure that these people don't exist and try to bring memories back alive. So it was fantastic. It was very melancholy, I will say, for sure. the memories of certain things that people used to work with, people who were ship captains and worked on ships when ships became obsolete and were no longer in their memories. You know, they're walking around not knowing what to do with themselves. So very, very sad, but very interesting, and it made me think a lot. So this was a very great read. And then we have another Lisa Jewell, and this one is called None of This Is True. This one follows a woman who has a podcast, a very popular podcast about women's empowerment, excuse me. And she brings someone on her show that is not typically the type of person that she would bring on her show. A very mousy, quiet, awkward woman. And through this woman's story, and we get pieces of it, the podcast throughout the book, you start to realize that not everything in her home life is as it should be, and you start wondering what is going on. It starts getting more and more tense, and the ending is, again, nothing I would have expected. So another very page-turning, twisty-turny read, and it was perfect for spooky season. So I really enjoyed that. And then, because I could not stop thinking about Strange Houses, I did pick up Strange Pictures, which was the first book by this author, Uketsu. And this one was even better than the other one. This one is all a series of strange pictures that are interconnected, and does not follow that same journalist in the other book, but it follows an art professor, an art student, and a random small boy. And throughout the length of this book, you start seeing what the connection is between all of them through these strange pictures. I don't want to say any more than that, because seeing the pictures and hearing their stories over time throughout the book, you start to see how these people are connected. And it was so creepy and spooky, but not super gory and bloody and, you know, super scary, but it was very unsettling for sure. And I loved this book, and I cannot wait to read the next book. Moving on to what I've been reading since the end of November into December. I read How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. This one's kind of like a closed room mystery. Several authors are invited to the home of a deceased author who leaves them something in his will, and they are there for the will to be read. And then things are not as they seem, and they quickly discover that they are in a horror story themselves and have to save themselves, or not. Yeah. The premise was very good. Some parts were pretty interesting, but I did not find this to be the greatest book that I read recently. I kept going. I put it down for about a week, and I picked it back up, and I did finish it, but not the greatest book. I'll probably end up donating this one or putting it in a little free library. But, you know, spooky, and the sprayed edges were pretty funny. Carnivorous books, you know. Moving on to some of the more unsettling things that I have read recently, and we're getting to the end here. I read another Lisa Jewell, and this one is called Watching You, and we're following a whole bunch of different characters, and you have no idea how any of them are connected. We have someone who is observing people out of his window. We have a strange woman who prowls up and down the street and is paranoid and thinking that everyone is watching her. And, you know, all of this is taking place in a very upscale neighborhood in England, or the UK. And, yeah, I don't think that I can say any more other than that, again, the ending was not what I expected. So, enjoyed that one. I continue to read her books because I find them very unsettling, and I enjoy that kind of thing sometimes. moving on to two books that I was reading at the same time without meaning to, and they complemented each other so very well. I read The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and this book was fantastic. I loved this book. And it's really very simple. All it is a man and his son walking down a road trying to get to the coast. And slowly you learn that they are in some sort of post-apocalyptic environment. Not many people around, but you can't trust people that you do find, you know, out there. And he and his son are just trying to survive and get to the coast. They don't know what they're gonna find at the coast, but that is what they are doing. And at the same time, I was reading Nuclear War by Annie Jacobsen. And this one is a nonfiction / fiction. So this woman is, I think she's an investigative journalist, and she interviews lots of government officials, other journalists, etc. And she gets a lot of information about things that are on the cusp of being classified information, and she basically proposes a scenario in which a nuclear weapon is fired and what is the series of events that would happen after that. And I found this to be so fascinating, and I don't know if my enjoyment of these two was expanded because I read them at the same time, but they were the perfect complement for one another. So, though it does not ever say in this book what happened to cause the situation that they're in, it fit pretty perfectly with reading this. So we have lots of true information, examples from history, weapons testing, etc. And the scenario that she proposes is very, very terrifying. It's very terrifying. And seeing all of the procedures that you never really think about that would happen in a case like this and what would happen afterwards. It's pretty terrifying, but also very informative. So I did really love this one as well. But yeah, that is it for what I have been reading lately. I've been reading a lot of dark stuff. Maybe it's time to move on to the happy family Christmas stuff, because we are in December. So I thank you so much if you watched to the end of this video. I am sorry that I have been away for so long, but I am back. I have so much more time to do things now, to read. So yeah, I thank you for being here, and I do hope to see you in the next one. I would love to hear what you think of these books that I read, or if you've read any of them yourself. But again, thank you so much. Take care. Bye.